Hello and good morning. What day? Happy Wednesday. I have no idea what day it is. Probably don't even know where I am half the time right now. Um, I'm alternate Jer, also known as AJ, and I apologize for not being here Monday like I had originally planned. Uh, I unexpectedly got a phone call from my sister who had taken my dad to the doctor, and they took him by ambulance from the doctor's office because his oxygen was in the low 80s and they thought he had pneumonia and COVID. Being 83 years old, even though he's very healthy and active, that was a scary phone call to get. So he does not have pneumonia, and he is doing better, I think. Uh, I don't. I When I went to see him yesterday, I really kind of thought he would be doing a lot better than what he was doing. Um, so I am waiting for my sister to. So that's why I have time this morning before I have to go pick her up and go up there and see what the plan is. Yesterday they said maybe release him in 24 hours, and I was like, over my dead body, this guy can't go home. Uh, he nope. And it's just been a kind of a crap show to say the least because the hospital is full. He's not even left the emergency room yet. I don't anticipate he will at this point. So it's just been like everything has just been not normal and crazy. And yeah, but I do believe he is on the road to recovery. He asked me to bring his electric razor to him this morning, so I took that as a good sign. Also, I guess COVID is, oh, sorry, I know I'm not supposed to say that word, but it is what it is. It's out there. We get it. Blah, blah, blah. Uh, Listening to the doctor, this strain, uh, all sits here in your throat. And my dad said he has had the worst sore throat of his life. Like I couldn't even understand him when he had called me Monday morning, and I could not understand him. And that's and he so everything is sitting here, and that's why they thought he had pneumonia because he was so rattly. Like it was crazy, but um, it's not. The doctor said all the it affects your throat and your airways here, so it's like uh, almost bronchitis plus the vid. So he called it COVID bronchitis. I don't know if somebody said, is that a thing? I'm like, I don't know. This is what the doctor said. I'm just going by what he said. Um, so I don't know. It's really been hard. He's using this suction thing to get everything out of his throat, and it's just been my sister, my poor sister. She sits there and plugs her ears, and I'm just like, okay. I called my daughter-in-law, who's a respiratory therapist, and I said, "Hats off to you. Hats off. You do a job I could not do. I've been just struggling all day with that thing." And I told my brother, who's very weak with hospitals in general, I was like, "Do not come see dad because you'll be on the floor." So, uh, we're just going day by day. But anyway, so that's what has been going on. So that's why I put the stream up Monday, and I told myself not to do it until after he got back from the doctor. I didn't listen to myself because why would I do that? We are going to look at the trial of Aileen Wuornos. She is the quote unquote America's first serial unaliver. However, we kind of know that's not true because of the people that we have covered just in our little short time of covering serial unalivers. We had Jolly Jane from the state of Massachusetts back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, who unalived a lot of people. Maybe 30. And then we covered Belle. I don't know how to say her last name. I don't know if it's Gunness or Gunnis. Don't care. She unalived a bunch of men in Illinois and Indiana. And maybe perished in a fire at her farm in Indiana. They don't know for sure. They've never, even though they exhumed the remains that are buried where with her husband and her children, which she unalived, so they probably don't want her by them, but whatever. They exhumed her, tested DNA, was inconclusive. So nobody knows for sure if it was her or not. I don't know if she escaped and then just quit unaliving people. I doubt it. So either they didn't connect things back to her and she continued her on her way, or she perished in the fire and was unalived by her farmhand. Which, wouldn't she kind of deserve it? Anyway, I need to say hello to some people. Hello, Gabby. And Kelly. And Flashman. Thank you. No apologies allowed. Yeah, the Black Widow. I have to look into that one. Yeah, she's definitely not the first. She's just the first, I think, where the powers that be, realized that women could be serial unalivers. I'm not sure why that took them so long, because I can tell you, as a woman, we can be very vengeful and vindictive and awful when you make us angry. So do that at your own risk. I'm just telling you. I know us. But I don't know why the powers that be didn't know us as well. So Aileen Wuornos' crimes took place from late 1989 to the fall of 1990. And I was still in high school, believe it or not, Flashman. And so she was arrested on January 9th, 1991. And her trial started in January of 1992. Now, she is on trial. This is the trial that we're going to watch. She's on trial for the unaliving a 52-year-old Richard Mallory. He supposedly was, or allegedly, was her first victim. By the time that the trial started, she had already confessed to 7 other unalivings of men who had picked her up while hitchhiking. But we know that she was a lady of, what's that? Negotiable affections, lady of the night. And that's when her crimes allegedly happened. So we're going to at least get through opening statements today, maybe a little bit more. Before that, I will have to go and get my sister and go see what my dad's up to. And then hopefully I'll be back on Friday. She was, oh, wow. Yes, she was. If you're talking about Aileen Wuornos, she was only charged or tried for 1 crime, but she confessed to the others. We will hear about them because they are the evidence of the other ones are used in this trial. So, probably not saying that right. Whatever. My brain is scattered. I have to really be honest with you. Now, please remember that this happened in 1992. I have everything turned up. I hope the audio is okay. So just let me know. I can turn it up a little bit, but if I turn it up too much, it gets distorted. And I can't move the closed captions up. Like I can't move them at all. But I do have them on. Oh, it turned my booster off. That's not very nice. All right. Here we go, and let me know how it sounds. I'm trying to remember if I...
Ladies and gentlemen, here the attorneys for the party would give them the opportunity to make their open statement to you, and they may explain to you the issues in this case, summarize the facts that they expect the evidence will show. After all the evidence has been received, the attorneys will again have an opportunity to address you and to make their final arguments. The opening statements the attorneys now make and the arguments we will make at the conclusion of the case are not to be considered by you as either evidence in this cause or instruction of the law the court will give you at the conclusion of the testimony. Nevertheless, these opening statements and the closing arguments are intended to help you to properly understand the issues, the evidence, and the applicable law, and I would request that you give them your closest attention. Mr. Taylor?
Thank you, Your Honor. Please, the court, counsel.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Aileen Wuornos is charged with murder in first degree by premeditation and by committing robbery, felony murder, as well as armed robbery. The evidence that we believe will be revealed during this trial over the next several days show that on November the 30th, 1989, a little over 2 years ago, Richard Mallory, age 51, turned east onto I-4, the interstate highway, near Tampa. He didn't know that he was living the last day of his life. He didn't know that in less than 10 hours, he'd be robbed and murdered, and his body would be left to rot in the woods. Of course, he didn't know that he was about to pick up a predatory prostitute who had had sex with over 250,000 men.
You plan to sustain this with testimony?
We do, Your Honor.
Objection overruled.
Of course, he didn't know that he was about to pick up a predatory prostitute who had had sex with over 250,000 men by her own admissions. He didn't know that he was about to admit and meet and admit into his car Aileen Wuornos, the woman who sits at this table, whose appetite for lust and control had taken a lethal turn. She was no longer satisfied with just taking men's bodies and their money. Now she wanted the ultimate control.
Your Honor, I have to object. I believe the prosecutor is engaging in final argument.
Well, I don't believe so yet, so the objection is noted and overruled, and let's make a decision right now, and that decision is only going to be one counsel object. I'm not going to have all three of you jumping up and down, so have one spokesman speak for your group.
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
She now wanted the ultimate control. She wanted all that Mr. Mallory had. His car, his property, and his life. The next day, deputy sheriff found Mr. Mallory's automobile abandoned in the woods north of Ormond Beach. Approximately 2 weeks later, on December the 13th, I found Mr. Mallory on the west side of the river, opposite side of the river, north of Ormond Beach. They found him covered with a carpet. His face and head had begun to decompose, so identification was not readily apparent at that time. They found 4 bullet holes in his body. They found his pockets turned inside out. He was fully clothed, and his pants were zipped. Ms. Wuornos had shot and killed Mr. Mallory, taken his property, gone through his pockets and covered him up, and then returned to her motel where her lesbian lover, best friend, Tyree Moore, and she used the car to remove their property to another residence. Shortly thereafter, she she told Tyree Moore she killed Mr. Mallory, and that it was his automobile that she had used, they had used to move the property. Ultimately, on January the 16th of 1991, approximately a year ago, she gave a complete statement after being advised of her constitutional rights, having had a lawyer summoned to protect her rights. She told Deputy Sheriff Larry Forzepa of the Volusia County Sheriff's Office several stories as to how the killing took
Several
place.
stories, Your Honor.
Next number.
All of the stories agree on a few points. She says that she was hitchhiking along the interstate, just east of Tampa, heading in an easterly direction, when she was picked up by Mr. Mallory on November the 30th, 1989. She says they traveled on the interstate across the state towards the Daytona Beach area, and while traveling, they drank and talked. In all of her stories, she says that she solicited him for an act of prostitution, saying that she needed money for her rent. In her story, she says that he was wearing blue jeans and a shirt. And without exception, she says that they began hugging and kissing after having found a place to park in the woods north of Daytona Beach, and that they were having a good time, and that it was her intent to engage in sex with him for money. In the first story, she says that Mr. Mallory paid her in advance, but that she became concerned that he might try to take the money back. And therefore, she jumped out of the automobile and pulled from her bag a gun, a pistol, that she'd only had for approximately 2 days. She told him to get out of the automobile, step away. And then she changed her story. So no, he
Objections to story, Your Honor.
Objection.
Are they showing the jury? Okie dokie. Weird. I'm glad the audio is good. It just surprised me if they were just showing the jury right there. Okay. Okay.
Overrule.
And he stayed in the car, and then she didn't tell him to get out, but she shot him in the automobile while he's sitting behind the wheel. Doesn't remember whether she shot him 2 or 3 times. But that in any event, she ultimately killed him. The next story she told during the same interview, same officer, was again that she solicited money. But this time, she said that they'd been drinking and talking and having fun for about 5 hours, parked in the woods north of Ormond Beach. And that she decided he was a nice guy. And that she usually wanted her money in advance. But he was such a nice guy that she didn't think she really needed to get the money in advance. And then they began to move towards the ultimate act of having sex. But he wouldn't take his clothes off. He wanted to just unzip his pants. And she didn't like it that way. And they began to argue and struggle a little bit about it. And she got out of the car and said, "No, you're not going to just fuck me. You're going to pay me." And then she shot him as he sat behind the wheel. In both stories, as she talks about the killing, She admits he was sitting in the automobile, behind the wheel, fully clothed, when she shot him. And that she was out of the automobile with a loaded 9-shot revolver in his hand, and he with no weapon whatever. She says that after she shot him in the front seat, he crawled out the driver's door and shut the door. Because on the other side of that doorway was a woman who was pumping bullets into it. She says he crawled out the door. And then she ran around to the front of the car. It's difficult to imagine, but she shot him again. And he fell to the ground, and she shot him again. The evidence will give several explanations as to why she killed Richard Mallard. She told the deputy she didn't really understand why she shot him. She also said, well, it's because he didn't pay me. And she also said, well, it's because he was going to try to take the money back. And also because he wouldn't take his pants off. She didn't want to have sex that way. From her statement, we know that he was targeted because he was middle-aged, and according to her, it wouldn't make much difference if she killed him because he didn't have any parents. I guess that means
Objection, Your Honor.
That's no rule.
the real reason is you sort out the evidence in its totality are not all that complex. She says she doesn't really know why she killed him, but the evidence tells you why she killed him. She killed him out of greed. She was no longer satisfied with $10 or $20 or $40. She wanted all. And she had to take it. And she did. And she used a gun to take it. And she shot him to keep it. She also told the deputy that she needed to kill him dead, not just shoot him, because she didn't want to leave a witness. And she had a very practical reason for that position. She said, after all, I'm a professional road highway prostitute. And if I didn't kill him, I couldn't go back out on the highway. They would find me. She might have had to find another way to make a living. And she didn't want to be caught. And she wanted to be certain that there was no way that she could be punished and held responsible for killing this man in cold blood and robbing him. Intent, she said that she intended to let him die. Ultimately, and the bottom line is, the evidence in its totality will show that Aileen Carol Wuornos liked control. She had been exercising control for years over men. Tremendous power possessed through prostitution.
Objection sustained on that.
She had devised a plan now and carried it out to have the ultimate control. All that Richard Mallory had, she took, including his life. And under the law, she must pay with her life.
Objection, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Overruled. Does the defense deserve?
That was a lot of objections for an opening statement. Wow. Okay. Yeah, you guys, I'm glad this audio is good. And Adair, you're right. Like it's, and somebody else made the comment that it's better than what we have nowadays. It's kind of crazy. Should be crystal clear now. All right. Well, I don't know if she really had relations with 250,000 people. That's a lot. That is a lot. One thing you got to keep in mind, this was back in 1992. I think in the movie, they kind of made a big deal about her relationship because she was in a relationship with a woman. Nowadays, we don't care. It just was not accepted back then. So maybe kind of made her deviant, I guess. I don't know. But so there's going to be some things that are always different, which they always are in these older trials. It's just times have changed. A lot's changed for the better. Yes, Carmen, I think you would fall out. Don't make me cough. Yeah, they do fight harder. It was definitely, it's more exciting already. Dorothy Hamill. My mom had the Dorothy Hamill haircut. 200 and something tricks, 200 and something Johns, 200 guy. The prosecutor said, or attorney general, whatever he is, said 250,000. Yikes.
Make no mistake, at this time we reserve open statement.
I desire to make no offense to
And
Your Honor.
proceed, ma'am.
Thank you. Please report, counsel. Good morning. Ladies and gentlemen, the evidence is going to show that when Aileen Wuornos jumped into the car with Richard Mallory on that rainy night in December of 1989, she had no idea that she was going to be traveling with him into a nightmare, and that ride would ultimately bring her into this courtroom today. The evidence will show that on the day that she met Richard Mallory, she had been to Fort Myers. She had received 6 rides on her way back. It was getting late and she was real tired. She stopped near the interstate I-4 and 75, and it was raining. So she got under the overpass in order to stay out of the weather until it would clear up. She was standing in the shadows. As she was standing in the shadows, a car passed by. She saw the lights. She saw it pull over. And then it began to back towards her through the dark. You will hear that she was frightened. Because of the weather and because of the darkness, she couldn't tell who was in the car. She couldn't tell if it was a car full of guys or what it was. She didn't think she could be seen there. You are going to hear evidence that Lee has been on her own since she's been a very small child. You will hear that she's been living on the roads. You're going to hear that she's a prostitute, living from one highway exit to the next. You're also going to hear that home for her, as the prosecutor has indicated to you, is a motel. When times are good, she rents a motel by the week. When they're lean, she rents them by the day. You're also going to hear that times were changing out on the roads. Existence for Lee was getting to be very dangerous. The frequency with which she met physical abuse was escalating. Remember, she started on the roads when she was a young young girl. Things were changing. Time after time after time, she was raped. Time after time after time, she was beaten up and she wasn't paid. Finally, she armed herself. This night that Richard Mallory stopped on the side of the road and backed towards her, she was making a decision. Do I try to get dark or get back farther in the shadows? Do I try to hide, or do I wait to see and possibly someone that can give me a ride, someone that I'll feel safe with? Well, ultimately, he asked her if she wanted to go with him and go for a ride. But he was going all the way to Daytona, and that's where she was trying to go. She knew that her very best friend, her roommate, the person that she was helping to support, would be waiting for her and would be wondering why she was out so late. She was happy that she had just one ride now that would take her all the way to Daytona, because, as I said before, it had taken her 6 rides to get from Fort Myers to the side of the road where Richard Mallory stopped to pick her up. So they began to travel towards Daytona. You will hear evidence that Richard Mallory was drinking, that he was fixing himself mixed drinks, and that he offered her a drink. You will also hear that Aileen drinks when she's out on the road. She drinks when she's on the road because it gives her courage and it keeps her from being too nervous. So she'd had some beer before she got into the car with Mr. Mallory. Then Mr. Mallory offered her some of his alcohol. And he also offered her some marijuana. He was smoking marijuana. You will hear that she told him no, that she didn't like marijuana, but it didn't bother her if he smoked because her roommate did. But she did want a drink. She wanted to rest and have a straight shot home to Daytona. So you will hear that they continued to drink. You will hear that she was getting concerned because he was smoking so much. You will hear that he stopped at one point to get gas and that he asked her if she wanted beer. And yes, she did. She did want beer. At some point, she indicated to him that she needed to make some money for groceries and for rent. And you've heard that Lee is a prostitute, and that is how Lee earns money. Mr. Mallory said he was looking for a good time, so this was perfect. They returned to Daytona. They got into Daytona late that night, and they went to a secluded area. They stayed in that area until almost 5 o'clock in the morning, talking and drinking, having fun. You will hear that Lee had decided that she could trust him. She started feeling comfortable with him. They have not been having sex up to this point. They've been talking. You will hear that Mallory had a lot of things that he wanted to talk over, had some problems in his life. You will hear that at approximately 5 o'clock in the morning, Mallory asked Lee, "Are you ready to earn your money now?" Lee said yes. You will hear that Mr. Mallory suggested that she take off all of her clothes. That way he could be assured that she wasn't going to run away or going to rip him off. Lee, once again, as I told you before, thought that she could trust this person. So she agreed. She began to take off her clothes. At that point, Mr. Mallory says, "I'll be right back. I've got to get something out of the trunk." Lee thought that was fine. Mr. Mallory got out of the car. He opened up the trunk. Lee folded up her clothes neatly and put them in the back seat. She waited a good while. Soon she heard the trunk close. She was in darkness. Mr. Mallory opened the door, and he also opened a nightmare for Lee. This wasn't the nice, calm person. Again, he'd been smoking all night long and drinking, and Lee had been drinking also. But you will hear evidence of bondage, rape, sodomy, and degradation.
Well, sorry to stop it at this great point. Thank you, Gabby, so much for the $20 super chat. Look, it's a penguin. I had a flamingo. I need to put it in Discord on my screensaver this morning. I took a picture of it so I could send it to Flash Fan. But thank you very, very much for that. I appreciate that so much. That means a lot. So thank you. And thank you also for being a member for 12 months. Wow, 1 year. Thank you. I agree, Adair. I agree. It is more fascinating. And apparently a little bit more fighty. The one thing I forgot to tell you guys, yes, she's claiming self-defense on all her unalivings. So they're going to do closings, and then we get everything, but they've kind of got them in different clips. So once closing's over, I'll get the other clip. But so it's kind of weird. But yeah, she claims self-defense for all her actions. Okay.
Predation. And Lee was a victim to that. Ultimately, after a good period of time, Lee was able to get away from him, to pull away from him. During the period of time that she was being subjected to the abuse that Mr. Mallory was inflicting, he told her, "I've done this to other women." He wanted to see her pain. As I told you before, Lee had begun to carry a weapon. Lee had a weapon in her purse on the floorboard, on the passenger side of the front seat. Lee got that weapon, and she shot Mr. Mallory. She got out of the car. Mr. Mallory was still coming towards her. She said, "Don't come any closer. Don't come any closer, or I'll shoot again." He was cursing at her. He was wounded. He was angry. And he said he was going to kill her. And he kept coming, and she shot him again. You hear testimony that she was terrified. She didn't know what to do. She decided she needed to get out of there. She wanted to take the car and get away. She drove his car, totally nude, frantically, driving to get away from there, to get away from the situation that she'd just been involved in. Drove for a good distance, again, nude, driving, trying to get away, running. Ultimately, she found a place to stop. She got dressed, and then she tried to figure out what to do. She knew she couldn't go to the police. She knew she couldn't tell anybody who was going to believe her. She's a prostitute. Mr. Mallory was a businessman. She knew they weren't going to believe her, so she went home. She went to her girlfriends. Actually, it was both of them are living in this motel room at the same time. They've been living together for several years at this point. And she told her about it. And you will hear that Tyra Moore was supportive and understanding and told her that she should take care of herself, that she should defend herself, that she shouldn't be treated like that. However, you're going to hear that Ty has kind of changed her mind about that. You're going to hear that she changed her mind when there was a composite on the TV for 2 women. And you're going to hear that Ty agreed to assist law enforcement and come down to Florida and help them catch her friend and her lover. And you will hear that she did that. She came down to Daytona. Law enforcement put her in a motel, paid for all of her expenses, basically said, gave her whatever she wanted. Beer, food, shopping at the mall. And she stayed in that motel, wrote a letter to Lee, told her where she was going to be, and asked that she call her collect at the motel. And for a period of either 3 or 4 days, she worked on Lee to get Lee to say that she had done this and that Ty didn't have anything to do with it or didn't know about it. Finally, after Ty had threatened to kill herself, after Ty had told her that her family was being threatened, she finally convinced Lee to tell law enforcement about it. Now you're going to be seeing a video of Lee talking to law enforcement. Contrary to what the prosecutor has told you, you are not going to hear several stories about what happened. You're going to hear her say, I will protect Ty. I will do anything. I would even die for her. And you will hear her give one version of what occurred. And you will also hear her saying, I was so drunk. I was just so drunk. She will say, I was drunk royal. During the time that she was out in the woods with Mr. Mallory, her constant knowledge of impending danger was blurred by alcohol. She was really drunk. And she apologizes to law enforcement. I'm confused. I can't remember everything. I was just so drunk. But you will hear her tell one version of what occurred out there. You will hear that he got violent with me. Ladies and gentlemen, Lee Wuornos is not guilty of first-degree premeditated murder or armed robbery. She defended herself. She had had enough. Not one more time could she take it. Not one more time. Thank you.
All right, give me 1 second. Stop talking. Ooh. This one does not give me the option for closed captionings. Odd. Thank you, Gabby, for the elephant. If you guys don't know the story, Flashman went to Aruba and went on vacation, and he put a picture of a bird in Discord, and while he was eating dinner, and he's like, "Stupid penguin thinks he's going to get my dinner." Well, it was a picture of a flamingo. We thought he was joking, saying that the bird's so stupid, like he thinks he's a penguin. But that's not really what happened. He thought it was he did think it was a penguin. And so we're just never letting him forget that because it was hilarious. And that's why. So I don't know why these clips don't have closed captionings on them. I apologize. I hope I can't. Let me try something real quick. Oh no, you're never living that down, Flashman. That's just out of the question. All right. Well, I haven't had any ads so far, and this one shows that there are some, but I haven't had them play, so I don't think they'll play. If they do, I apologize. And I don't know why there's not closed captioning, but I tried again, and there's not. All right, here we go. This is, well, they'll tell us who it is.
Name, clerk?
Thank you, Your Honor. Sir, would you state your name and your occupation?
My name is John Bonnevere. I'm a sergeant with the Volusia County Sheriff's Office.
And how long have you been a deputy sheriff?
13 years and 10 months.
And can you tell this jury, please, what rank you hold and what your present responsibilities are?
I hold the rank of sergeant. My present responsibilities are as the personnel services coordinator for the Sheriff's Department in the Administrative Services Division.
Were you employed by the Volusia County Sheriff's Office and on duty on December the 1st, 1989?
Yes, sir. At that time, I was employed as a sheriff's deputy in the position of sergeant, assigned to the Law Enforcement Services Division, also known as the patrol function of the Sheriff's Department, as a supervisor in District 3, which is Northeast County.
Can you tell the jury whether or not you were on patrol that day, and if so, if anything occurred of consequence in your patrolling?
Yes, sir. On the 1st of December 1989, during the course of routine patrol, on or about 3:20 p.m., I discovered a abandoned vehicle in a wooded area on North John Anderson Drive in the unincorporated area of Volusia County known as Ormond by the Sea.
Go ahead, please.
Yes, sir. I conducted a inquiry in and around the vehicle looking for a owner and or occupant driver. Failed to find anyone in the area. Furthered my investigation by trying to determine ownership of the vehicle by the use of State Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicle Registration through both the vehicle identification number and the tag that was affixed to the vehicle at the time. Information received subsequent to the inquiry showed ownership to a Richard Mallory. Again, no persons, either Mr. Mallory or otherwise, were found in the area. Yes, sir.
In your routine patrolling, did you normally have a route, or were you on a particular route or area that day that you covered, I guess, zone?
As a district supervisor, I was responsible for a geographical area inclusive of the zone in which this vehicle was found.
And what area did that zone cover?
The zone is referred to as 31. The area of responsibility is from Main Street in Daytona Beach, north of the county line along the Atlantic Ocean, west to the Intracoastal Waterway, back to the Main Street area. So it's approximately 8 square miles along the ocean and back down along the river in Daytona and Ormond by the Sea.
All right, sir, I'd like you to examine, if you will, state's exhibits for identification, composite exhibits A1 through 5. And first, I would like you to indicate whether or not you recognize the scene which those photographs depict.
Yes, sir, I do.
And do those photographs truly and accurately depict the scene as it appeared to you on December the 1st, 1989?
Yes, sir, they do.
All right, when I use the word, kind of generic term, scene, what scene are you referring to?
The area in which the abandoned vehicle was located, it is a dirt trail that runs east and west between John Anderson Drive and Ocean Shore Boulevard, approximately 1/8 mile north of the intersections of Bass and Tarpon Drive and Ormond by the Sea and John Anderson Drive.
Your Honor, the state would offer into evidence photographs testified and tender them to counsel if requested.
We've reviewed these, Your Honor, there's no objection.
As we received the marking and the proper number. Let me explain to the jury now about markings. Through the course of the trial, and namely while you were out of the room, a number of items were marked for identification. These items are marked for identification because they're to be used by the witnesses as they testify, and for the witness use only. After proper predicates are made to fill the niceties of the law, motions will be made to admit into evidence certain items, and after hearing arguments of the law, the court will rule thereon. When these items are marked into evidence, they will be with you. You will be able to view these items, and they will also go with you to the jury room in your deliberation. So you understand when we talk about identifications for witness use, and we're talking about evidence that's for your use. You can follow the trial that way. Yes, go ahead.
I would also like you to look at Exhibit P for identification, which has been previously viewed, Your Honor, by defense counsel, and ask if you recognize the geographic area which and the information indicated on the key and by the red marks as they appear upon Exhibit P for identification. You recognize it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, I do.
Is that a true and accurate representation of the geographic area about which you have been testifying?
Correct.
All right. I would respectfully, Your Honor, offer the Exhibit P into evidence at this time.
Mr. Tanner, I have a question.
The witness has a question, Your Honor.
When the mechanical drawing was done, numbers 1 and 4 were inadvertently inverted.
No,
There's
that's,
no, sir. The red dot indicative of number 4 and the key representation are not correct.
Your Honor, before we publish the exhibit further,
4 is the correct.
obviously there's some concern with
Right,
that.
can you come over here so you can talk to the witness?
Yes, sir.
Mhm.
Your Honor, that is correct. The key needs to be reversed.
As to 1 and 4.
The other objection, Your Honor, is to the key itself.
Well, the key eliminated?
Yeah, before the item's actually.
Okay.
So,
We have a different map we'll offer.
All right.
that's fine.
Your Honor, I published the photographs that have been marked as identification after the witness testifies about each. Sir, I'd like you to look at State's Exhibit number 1 in evidence, and if you will, tell the jury what that is, and then follow that in sequence with 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Yes, sir.
And if you will, check the back and make sure which number you're testifying from before you begin testifying.
Yes, sir.
Well, they've shown the jury. I don't know if they will show these photographs or not. This is old court where they used to show things, so just be aware. I don't know. They might. I do like how that guy's like, hey, your exhibit's wrong. Good for him.
Yes, sir. This picture is marked as Exhibit 1, Picture 1, and this is at the scene where the vehicle, which was registered to a Mr. Mallory, was found. And this shows myself, then Deputy Sheffield, and a representative of the Cartwright Towing Service finalizing a tow document before we remove the vehicle from the scene to secure compound.
All right, sir. Next photograph?
Yes, sir. This is marked as number 2, and this is illustrative of looking south to the nearest fixed landmark, which is the intersection of Bass and Tarpon with John Anderson Drive from the end of the trail as it terminated onto John Anderson, looking south. The picture mark number 3 is representative of how the vehicle was viewed from John Anderson Drive. The vehicle had been backed into the trail and looking east towards Ocean Shore Boulevard, and the Ocean Beach is some distance down. Picture mark number 4 is depicting items that had been found approximately 30 yards behind the vehicle and buried in a small hole and covered with this white piece of cloth and sand placed back on top of them. What had happened, these items were taken out of the hole as it was, laid out for inspection purposes and photographed as they were prior to being collected.
All right, can you look at photograph number 4 and tell the jury, if you will, what items you recognize? And let me ask you this: did you observe those items as they appear in that photograph at the scene on December 1st, 1989?
Yes, sir, I had. The photograph is representative of 2 clear plastic tumblers, drinking tumblers, a brown paper bag containing what was identified as a bottle of Smirnoff brand vodka. The seal had been broken and the bottle had half the volume in it. There's a blue nylon wallet that contained 2 Florida driver's license, 2 credit cards, and some miscellaneous papers. The driver's license and the credit cards were in the name of a Richard Mallory. There was also a vehicle registration to the Cadillac indicating ownership or registration to Richard Mallory. There was a red car caddy, a device used in the car to carry cups and other assorted items, along with some other miscellaneous papers, inclusive of the business cards of Mallory Electronics. There were some other assorted papers, and this white cloth was used between the items and the top layer of soil as it was found in the hole. It was not completely secreted, but it was partially covered.
Your Honor, may we publish the photographs to the jury?
Just one other.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This is photograph labeled number 5. And this is depictive of the trail as it led from the rear of the car going over the dunes towards Ocean Shore Boulevard and the Ocean Beach.
I'd like you, sir, also look at exhibits in 2 photographs, composite exhibits, and ask if you recognize those 2 photographs.
Yes, sir, I do.
Your Honor, we would offer each of them into evidence.
No objection.
No objections.
Let the item be received and marked by the proper number.
I would also ask you to look at Exhibit B for identification, ask if you recognize that.
Yes, sir.
And also Exhibit C for identification.
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, we would offer Exhibits B and C into evidence.
We have certain objections, Your Honor. May we approach?
Which that absolutely.
Your Honor, B and C, C is the driver's license and B is the registration. You previously offered exhibits which were entered without objection were photographed, one of the VIN, the vehicle number, and the Florida license tag.
It's just one more quarter.
Can you stay here?
Yes, he does want you here. You can hear you.
I just can't write when you guys are talking there, but are you gonna, can you come on up?
Yeah, please.
those exhibits being marked, may I offer for identification exhibits S and D? Your Honor, for identification, I would like the witness testifies that he recognizes composite exhibit E 1 and 2.
Yes, sir, I do.
Deputy Bonnevier, I'd like you to examine exhibits D for identification and exhibit S for identification. And as to D and S, do you recognize them?
Sorry to ruin the rattling, the ASMR or whatever that's called. Yes, Flash fan, we will be doing this whole entire trial. So I may be doing it tonight. Once I might do another just like hour and a half tonight, like I am this morning. I have to figure out what's going on with my dad first before I know if I'm going to stream again tonight. But yeah, we're doing this whole trial. So start to finish. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Oh, you mean like future older trials? There's another one I want to do for sure. Looks like Joe Dirt from behind. Oh my gosh. I can make a bad joke, but I won't.
Yes, sir, I do.
Your Honor, may I publish the previously exhibits number 3 and number 4, the vehicle registration driver's license? Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, we'd like to have the exhibit for identification D, blue wallet, marked in evidence.
Without objection.
Without objection. Yeah, is that a came with 2 items there?
No, Your Honor, I believe it's just a empty wallet. Just a bag.
Do you need the bag in that one?
No, Your Honor, we don't need a bag.
Just the blue item,
No objection, Your Honor, that's fine.
just admit the blue item then, ma'am.
Yeah, publish it also with the
Your Honor, I don't know if, I doubt counsel has removed anything from the exhibit, but I noticed it was being leaked to me again, so. No, I trust you.
Your Honor, we would offer the composite exhibit, which is just miscellaneous papers and identifications, identification S. No objection.
Without objection. Without objection, let the attitude receive the mark and evidence, that's proper number.
Have you had an opportunity to examine exhibit R for identification poster behind you?
Yes, sir, I have.
Does that poster truly and accurately depict your patrol zone and the area in which you found the body on December the 1st, 1989?
The vehicle.
I'm sorry, the
Yes.
vehicle in 1989?
Yes, sir, it does.
And have you examined the other areas marked on the map as well?
Yes, sir, I have.
Your Honor, we would offer the exhibit R in evidence this time.
Without objection, Your Honor.
The attitude receive the mark and evidence, that's proper number.
That states exhibit 7.
All right, in your examination of the vehicle and the surrounding area on December 1st, 1989, did you try to determine how long the vehicle had been there? And if you did so, what did you do to try to determine that?
When the vehicle was located, as I had stated earlier, an attempt to locate any parties proximate to it was unsuccessful. A cursory examination of the vehicle by heat radiating off of specifically the engine manifold led me to believe the vehicle had been used, but some time had passed. I was speculating in the area of approximately 2 hours.
Object to the speculation, Your Honor.
In context, protection of the rule.
I further examined the vehicle in the area as to any type of foot trail or footpath that may be evident by use of a canine dog. One trail was examined for a distance of approximately 100 yards and then terminated. And other than that, that was tantamount to an inspection of the vehicle in the area.
What happened to the vehicle that day after you came in contact with it, if you know?
I had the vehicle removed from the area to secure compound pending further investigation, specifically location and notification of the owner, and working under the premise of it either being stolen or some other suspicious incident relevant to it.
All right, sir. The map which you examined had several dots on it. Did you do anything further that day in connection with this case, December the 1st? Did you do anything further that day other than the vehicle towed?
No, after the vehicle was removed from the scene, that was all that I had done with the vehicle that day.
All right. What is the next time you performed any functions in connection with your investigation of this case?
Over the course of the next several days, I initiated both teletype communications and telephonic communications to the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office in attempts to further identify and locate the owner of this vehicle.
Were they successful?
No, they were not, up until the point where my contact with their agency resulted in their going to the last listed address for Mr. Mallory in attempts to locate someone there. They advised me that no one was at that residence.
Stop. Stop there. Go ahead.
Were you able to find Mr. Mallory?
No, sir.
What's the next thing that you did in connection with this case? After attempting to find Mr. Mallory unsuccessfully?
All of this material was turned over to our major case section.
Did something happen on December the 13th that caused you to further your investigation?
On December the 13th, we received a report that a body had been located in a wooded area on US 1 north of I-95.
Were you on duty on that day?
Yes, sir, I was.
Did you go to the area where the body had been found?
Yes, sir, I did.
And can you tell the jury where the body was found?
The body was found on North US 1, approximately 1/2 mile from Interstate 95 on the west side of the roadway.
Is that within Volusia County?
Yes, sir, it is.
And did you go to the scene?
Yes, sir, I had.
And can you tell the jury what you observed at the scene?
When I arrived at the scene, the deputy assigned to the zone had already arrived, cordoned off a broad area to secure the scene for further investigation. He was in the process. I observed him to be in the process of interviewing the reporting party. I observed a blanket covering a human body. There was a hand exposed, and I just furthered the notification of those persons most responsible for investigating it.
Like you look at the photographs 8, 1, and 2, and identify them by either 1 or 2 from the clerk's marking on the bag, and tell the jury you will, sir, what they are.
The first photo is marked as number 1, and this is the area leading from US 1 north to the west into the wooded area where the body was located. And this photo, which is marked by clerk's number 3, is...
There are 2 sets of markings.
Okay,
There are identification markings, which is the preliminary number. Let me be certain the clerk has it.
So we're using...
Yes.
We're using the composite number right there?
Yes.
All right.
The first was 8, 2,
8-2.
and that you just testified about.
Yes, sir.
And the second one is 8-1, which you're about to testify about.
That's fine. This is the area in which the body was found with the carpet remnant over it and the exposed hand.
And publish the exhibit, Your Honor.
Right.
Deputy Bonnevier, on the easel is Exhibit 7, which has been stipulated into evidence by defense counsel. Your Honor, may the witness step down momentarily?
Sir.
Would you please step down and approach the easel and the exhibit in such a way that the jury can hear you and see you when I ask you questions about the exhibit. First, I would like you to indicate where on Exhibit 7. First, what does Exhibit 7 represent to you in totality? What area of Volusia County is that?
All right. Exhibit 7 is representative of part of District 3, northeast Volusia County.
And where would the Atlantic Ocean be?
The Atlantic Ocean would be to my right, or if we have a legend to this area, it would be on the chart.
All right, with regard to that line running diagonally, Is it, would that be each side?
The red line, the red and the black line are representative of A1A, and the dune line would be to the Ocean Beach side, yes.
Okay, and what would north be?
This north legend would be here. This is the North County line.
All right. Can you show the jury where you found the automobile that was registered to Mr. Mallory on December the 1st, 1989?
Yes, sir. It would be representative of this red dot on North John Anderson Drive, just north of Tarpon and Bass Drive in Orange County State.
Now, you're actually touching a little red X there beside the red dot, is that correct?
Yes, the red X is most representative of the location.
Okay, and the red dot is there simply for identification purposes to keys and is what you're talking about there?
Yes, sir.
All right. Could you show the jury likewise the indications that there are on the map as to where the body was found?
Yes, the red dot representative of the area being indicated by the red X. This is North US 1. This is Interstate 95 and the interchange exchange. And we're traveling in a north-northwest direction. And that would be that area right there.
All right, sir. And where would Ormond Beach, the Ormond Beach residential area be on that map?
Both the incorporated and unincorporated areas of Ormond Beach are going to be represented on the map. Roughly, we find Flomish Avenue, which is right here. This extension of Flomish north is representative of both the city of Ormond and the unincorporated area of Ormond in Volusia County.
And the two matters, areas about which you have just testified, both of those locations where the automobile and body were found located within Volusia County, Florida?
Yes, sir, they are.
Your Honor, may the witness return to his stand. Your Honor, we have no further questions for Deputy Bonder.
You inquire?
Yes, Your Honor.
Sergeant Bonavere?
Come on.
How are you, sir?
Find yourself.
What I'd like to do is cover some of the items that Mr. Tanner discussed with you, and then cover certain additional items of information that you provided previously in your reports. Did you bring your reports with you to court today?
Yes, sir, I have.
And you have them with you?
Yes, sir, I do.
If there's any question that I ask you, that by looking at your report, it will assist you in refreshing your recollection, feel free to do that.
Yes, sir.
Just take a look at them if it helps you remember things that are asked. You testified on direct examination that a vodka bottle was found at the scene.
Yes, sir.
What size bottle was it?
As to the volume, I cannot attest.
Do you think your reports might help you with that?
No, sir, I think it's going to reflect a vodka bottle open, half volume.
And it was a Smirnoff bottle, was it not?
That is correct.
Half of it was not in the bottle.
Yes, sir.
Do you know if it's a quart or a pint or what it was?
The photograph, my recollection of it, even though it is not documented, it would have been 750 milliliter or more along the line of a quart bottle.
The bottle itself, was that in anything?
Yes, sir, it was in a brown paper bag.
So the bottle was in the brown paper bag.
Yes, sir.
Did you observe the brown paper bag to see if it had been handled or what the situation in that regard was?
More specifically, sir.
Well, you know how folks hold the brown paper bag and hold the head of the bottle, and
Yes, sir.
did you notice anything along those lines?
Nothing that I would have made an association with other than the bottle being in the bag.
So there's this bottle that's half drunk and in a brown paper bag.
Correct.
Objection. Counsel's repeating each and every answer the witness gives.
Just ask questions, let the witness answer.
Yes, Your Honor. If you recall, Sergeant, there were some other items at the scene. You testified to some of them on direct, correct?
Yes, sir.
Do you recall a wire hanger being found at the scene?
Yes, sir, I did.
And Mr. Tanner did not ask you about that on direct examination, did he?
No, he did not.
What was the condition of the wire hanger?
My recollection was that it was intact. It was not deformed.
Okay, and where was it in relation to the other things?
The wire hanger was found in an area approximately 10 feet south of the car, which would have put it 30 yards forward and 10 feet over from the area where the vodka bottle was found.
Okay, the vodka bottle, the tumblers you were talking about on direct examination, those weren't piled up nicely and covered. They were sort of haphazard out there, were they not?
Those items were all in this shallow pit, covered by the cloth, partially covered by the sand, in an attempt to, what appeared to be an attempt to secret them.
But they were sort of haphazardly laid out there, were they not? In other words, let me put it this way, when you got there, you saw items. You didn't have to pull anything out to see something.
No, sir. That pit had to be excavated in some form to disclose everything that was in it.
Okay. And the wire hanger was somewhere in that vicinity?
No, sir. Wire hanger was in an area. Those items, the tumbler and the vodka bottle, 30 yards to the rear or east of the car down the trail. The wire hanger is 10 feet to the south of the car, moreover in a wooded area.
Okay. What did you do with the hanger after you recovered it?
I collected it as evidence and submitted it.
There was also a beer bottle in the area, was there not?
Yes, sir, there was.
And what kind of bottle was that?
Budweiser.
Do you recall the condition of that bottle, whether it had been whether any liquid was in it?
I'm going to refer to my report at this time, sir, only because I do not have a recollection. My report reflects it was a Budweiser beer bottle. My recollection was that it was empty only because when I secured it as a piece of evidence, I was able to put it in a brown paper bag. There was no fluid loss.
In your reports, you made a listing of some of the items found. Recall those reports where you just sort of listed an inventory?
Those would have been evidence reports, yes, sir.
Do you have those with you?
Yes, sir, I do.
If you could refer to the one that at the top says page 4 of 10.
Yes, sir.
And you notice that report also relates to some cloth that had been found in the area.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Tanner did not ask you about that in the direct examination, did he?
We spoke about it under direct examination.
Where was the cloth found?
The cloth had been used to cover those items that were found in that shallow pit and then sand placed on top of the cloth.
Can you describe the cloth, what material it was?
Not at this time, other than it was white.
Do you recall how long it was? Or can you give us any length, anything like that?
Again, it would have to, my recollection of it, it may have even been two separate pieces. Collected one piece, so it was one piece of cloth and one piece of paper. The photograph was representative of it. As to size, 24 square possibly.
In the course of your investigation, you testified on direct examination, you were involved in certain other proceedings regarding the deceit.
Yes, sir.
You tried to find him.
Oh, yes, sir.
What did you do in that regard? Did you talk to anybody who knew him or attempt to talk to anyone who knew him?
I was unsuccessful trying to contact anyone that had specific knowledge of the registered owner, Mr. Mallory, in this case.
Do you recall preparing a report that spoke of contact with the victim's apartment?
Yes, sir, I have. When you say contact with the victim's apartment.
So that somebody went there?
Yes, sir.
And looked at it?
Yes, sir.
And when that happened, a Smirnoff vodka bottle was found in the victim's refrigerator. Is that true?
Objection, Your Honor, unless this witness has personal knowledge of that.
If he has knowledge, he can testify. You know, I set up some rules in defense, and only one can talk over there. I think whoever does the question mistake to do the objection to.
Understood, Your Honor. Thank you. Your Honor, may I withdraw the objection?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
May I ask you to repeat the question, please?
There was a Smirnoff bottle found in the victim's refrigerator,
I had received information to that. Yes, sir.
and the bottle at the scene was a Smirnoff bottle.
That is correct.
In seeking to locate the decedent, do you know of anyone contacting anyone who knew him? Asking about his habits, where he had been, that type of thing.
The only information I have is relevant to the individual I contacted with the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office, who represented his efforts to me.
Let me take a look at Exhibit S, Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
That's exhibit 6.
Sergeant, what I've done is I've taken some of the contents of the exhibit and I have a couple of questions in that regard. You testified on direct examination that the decedent had 2 driver's licenses.
Yes, that I had found 2 driver's licenses in that name. Yes, sir.
In attempting to locate the decedent, did you ever go to the addresses listed on the driver's licenses?
I did not know, sir.
Did you ever look to see whether the driver's licenses reflected the same or different addresses?
I have a recollection of comparing the 2. Yes, sir.
There were also some phone numbers listed in one item of the decedent's property. I think it's the item right under the license that's in front of you.
Yes, sir.
Can you describe that item for us?
It is a business reply response for Playboy magazine that has a number of phone numbers and some names written on it, and what appears to be a mailing address of sorts, and then another phone number.
In attempting to locate the decedent, did you attempt to contact any of those numbers? Whoever answered those numbers, if they had seen him or if they knew anything about him?
I do not have a recollection of having used this as a means of contact. No, sir.
And the writings, the phone numbers written on that are handwritten. Somebody wrote that in pen.
It appears to. Yes, sir.
The business Playboy reply, however it's described, that's a standard printed thing you get out of Playboy magazine.
From some periodical. Yes, sir.
Right, but the other stuff on it is handwritten. Somebody wrote that in there.
It appears. Yes, sir.
At the scene, there was also a sneaker found, was there not?
Yes, sir. There was.
And what did you do with regard to that sneaker?
A single sneaker with a sock in it were collected from the scene, submitted in with the other items.
Some of the items that were shown to you by Mr. Tanner, for example, the vehicle registration had some dirt on it, something along those lines, do you recall?
The one that was in the bag, sir?
Yeah.
Marked as an exhibit at the time. Yes, sir. It looked like it had some chemical application on it.
Okay, that was something that was put on by, if you know, by folks who are looking for fingerprints or analyzing the item.
I have no idea.
Have you seen that kind of thing before?
Yes, I have.
I have nothing further. Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Sergeant.
Mr. Mayor, briefly, Your Honor, please, the court. Did you say the coat hanger you found some 30 or more yards away from the buried item was not deformed?
The coat hanger was located approximately 10 feet south of the car, sir.
Yes, but the buried item was 30 yards east of it.
Yes, it was
So that put the coat hanger more than 30 yards.
30 from the 2 points of collection. Yes, sir.
In other words, the items have been covered up vodka bottle, the tumblers, the personal effects were at least 30 yards away before hanger, correct?
Your Honor, that's me.
Yes, it's redirect.
Well, go ahead.
Is that correct?
Yes, sir. The
Distance separating. Yeah.
correct. The distance separating them was equal to or greater than 30 yards.
And the photograph of the items, personal items about which you testified, the vodka bottle, the tumblers, and the driver's license, wallet, and all that, as shown in that photograph, that's not the way they appeared when you came on scene, are they?
No, they are not. That is after they were collected out of that hole.
And they have been buried there.
Objection, Your Honor, that's clearly
Rephrase the question.
They collected out of the hole. What condition were they in with regard to being able to see them until they were uncovered?
The contents, as they are represented here in the picture, could not all clearly be determined from when they were in the hole because they were underneath the white cloth and underneath the sand. So we removed the sand, the white cloth started shaking some stuff out, and this is everything that was in the hole.
It appeared to have been hidden.
Yes, sir.
when you got there,
Yes.
what led you to go into that hole?
That it was partial.
So you could see something.
You can see something.
What could you see?
The car caddy, as I recall, was on top. So I was able to see part of the car caddy, this white cloth, and some sand.
Okay, so you saw the white cloth. You saw
Part of it.
Part of the white cloth.
Yes, sir.
You saw the car caddy.
Yes, sir.
You saw the sand.
Yes, sir.
And you went and pulled those items out.
Started unearthing it. Yes, sir.
Then was it before or after that that you found the hanger?
My recollection was these items were located first. No. Yes. My report would indicate that the items found to the south of the car were located first, and then subsequently following the trail that these items were located.
Okay, and you say items south of the car, is that?
That's the wire hanger, the Budweiser bottle, the sneaker.
So you found those things.
Yes, sir.
You went and looked some more and you found these things.
Okay. Yes, I was effectively opening the area in which I was searching. Started at the car, went out a little bit further, found this, went out further. Yes, sir.
And all of these things that you were finding, you believe were evidence that may be relevant to the case.
Items that were of concern to me because other than a suspicious incident, that's all I had. I had an abandoned car. The area, my personal involvement in the area, it's not that transient. It's not an illegal dumping site to speak of. So anything there was of interest.
The items were of concern to you relevant to this case.
They were of interest to me. Yes, sir.
And the wire hanger was one of those items.
Yes, sir.
And the sneaker was one of those items.
Yes, sir.
And the beer bottle was one of those items.
Correct.
And the vodka bottle in the brown paper bag was one of those items.
Yes, sir.
And you listed all of these items on the same reports.
Yes, sir.
You inventoried them on the same sheets,
Correct.
all relevant to this case.
Objection, Your Honor, calls for legal conclusion.
When you listed them, did you believe they all may be relevant to this case?
Excuse me, Mr. Muller.
Yes.
I again object if the predicate of the case.
Well, let me rephrase this question. You just has knowledge and he understands the question, then you answer the best you can.
When the wire hanger, the beer bottle, the vodka bottle that's half drunk in the brown paper bag, and the other items we were talking about were sent to a lab,
I have no knowledge of
wherever they were sent.
they were turned over, if I may. I found an abandoned car. It was suspicious in nature to me of itself. I had a car in an area where I determined it should not have been, with nobody there to lay a claim to it. As I looked around, I could not discern what was and was not immediately relevant to that car.
That's exactly what I'm saying, and you got.
That
the
car.
You got the vodka bottle.
Right, so I collected
You
everything.
got everything, and
Right.
you all sent, and you sent all that somewhere as inventory.
Correct, to our major case investigators.
And that was all in reference to the Mallory case, correct?
That's where there seems,
That's what you listed on your
Objection,
report,
Your Honor.
correct?
this was all relevant to abandoned, suspicious incident, abandoned vehicle, registered owner Mallory. That was the extent of my case.
And they all went together.
Yes, sir, they did.
One last question.
Anything further, sir?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Taylor?
I'm not certain you answered, was the coat hanger deformed in any way?
My recollection of it was that it was intact. It was,
Thank you.
Sergeant, does your report indicate anything about its condition?
no, it does not. It just says a wire coat hanger.
Your report does not say it was intact, does it?
Let me go to the exact wording. I don't believe it does.
Thank you.
Okay, a wire hanger.
Any further?
It does not say that it was not deformed.
The witness be discharged and excused from the room.
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor.
He can be excused from the room.
Not
from the
Your Honor.
room.
All right, you may stand down, you're discharged, but you are still under the rule, and you're not to discuss your testimony of the case.
Thank you, sir.
I don't know. They are at the Mallory case, so I'm not sure exactly what the defense attorney was just sitting there trying to do. Like arguing with him about that. Whatever. What he found there. Of course, it's to the Mallory case. That's what they're trying, is the Mallory case. I do think, though, he should have made his report better as far as the size of the vodka bottle, the condition of the hanger. Those things have changed, so I guess that's what we're used to listening to. But I do think it seems to move along more efficiently. I don't know. It just doesn't seem to have so much, like, this is... I mean, he's looking at the pictures and showing the jury. He's like, this is Exhibit A. This is where we found his body. Before he's just looking at him. Now they're like, look at him, go through them all. And then they're like, okay, I've looked at them all. All right. Now can we publish? He's like publishing them right away. Like, I don't know. A Judge Blunt. I like him. He just calls it as he sees it. And he doesn't pull any crap. Also, he looks very tiny behind that big bench. But yeah, this is so different than what we watch on a current trial. I kind of like it, actually, better. Because, like I said, it's moving along fast. The arguments between the attorneys, they're a little feisty. It's more interesting to listen to. We get to hear it. Kind of get to hear the sidebars a little bit. Good times. That's all the further I'm going to go today. I got to go pick up my sister, go to the hospital, see what's happening, and then I will let you guys know if I'm going to be able to do a short stream tonight. I'm also still trying to get over the cold that I had from last week that does that to me. And I got to make sure by the end of the day, my voice, Flash Van could be the woman that he was that one day when we were reading Jolly Jane, and I could definitely be a man because it gets very low and starts going away. So I'll have to see how that is doing as well. Flash Van, I hope everything is all right with your great aunt and they get her treated and she makes a full recovery. That sucks. I hate that. So I will put up something as soon as I know if I'm going to be able to. I will put if you're not in our Discord or my Discord, whatever, it's free. You don't have to be a member or anything. And it's a good Discord. I put updates in there when I can. Sorry, I'm trying to fix you guys so you're going somewhere. So I'll definitely post an update in there as soon as I have one. And so if you haven't joined it, come on in. We have a good time over there. And then that way you'd have been in the know about Flash Van thinking that flamingo was a penguin, which was always and funny. If I do not see you tonight, I will see you. My plan is to see you Friday. My week's kind of, I don't even know. But my plan is to see you Friday. I may have to do an earlier time like I did today. So I apologize for that being all over the place. But I'm glad I got to come see you guys, spend some time with you. Flash fan. And just hang out and just relax for just a minute. So I appreciate it. I hope you guys are, I hate to say enjoying this trial because it's capital punishment trial, but I hope you're enjoying the trial. I kind of did too, Flash fan, Adair. I kind of did too. I'm not going to lie. I'm just trying to find a time that works for everyone. All right. You guys go enjoy your Wednesday. I know some of you are having really nice weather, me, myself included. Although I'm going to walk from my house to my car to the hospital back to my car, and that will be the extent that I enjoy it. But whatever. It's not snowing. And that's okay with me. I will see you guys all as soon as I can.